best-selling author, and I'm up front on Off the Record.
Off the Record with Michael Landsberg, brought to you by the Keg Steakhouse and Bar. For great steaks, good friends. See you tonight.
Take solace in the fact that McDonald's is still hiring. Don't worry, Landsberg, the Gap for Men is hiring. Off the Record has a man who has the credentials, the credibility, and the charisma to host this show.
He saw wrestling from the inside at the top for a decade. His book is called A Lion's Tale, Around the World in Spandex. Up front again today, Chris Jericho. The question that I want to ask is, will you return to wrestling?
Well, after I finished writing this book, it made me realize how much of a passion and a love I had for the business, and also how fortunate I was to have taken it to as far as I did. So I'll end up coming back, absolutely.
Do you believe that you're more able to cope with the stresses of wrestling and some of the lures of wrestling because you have other options in your life? You've been a musician, you've gone and done lots of other things, because there are a lot of people that you have wrestled with who can't do anything else.
Yeah, see, that's not something I ever was interested in. I didn't want to put myself into a box. I'm a wrestler guy. I'm an entertainer. I'm a showman. And I have many different things that I like to do. I don't put limits on myself. I don't put limits on what I can or can't do. If I think I can do something, I'll go and do it to the utmost of my abilities, and most of the time things work out the way you want it to. So.
Are you worried going back about the state of wrestling, given how many people have died? And I know you're very passionate speaking about all kinds of industries have problems, but wrestling in particular has got a lot of issues right now to deal with.
Well, sure it does, and I would never deny that. I mean, there's a lot of issues that need to be dealt with. I think they are being dealt with. More importantly, I think this job needs somebody to come in with a very positive slant, to shake things up and make people realize the magical side of wrestling, the mythical side, the fun side. That's what my book is about. That's what my career was about. That's what I'm about. You know, I'm a wacky guy, Landsberg. I'm a nut.
Did you do steroids ever?
I dabbled early in my career, but I realized early on that I was never going to be 6'8", 240 pounds. I think I was maybe 220 with, 220 without. I had to think outside of the box. And to me, I could never be the biggest guy in the show. I had to have the biggest personality and the biggest charisma.
And did you do them because you looked at the guys who were champions and thought, oh my gosh, those guys are way more ripped than I am, and I got to get that way?
No, because this was like 1992, maybe. It was... you know, just one of those things. It's like some people try, like, I'm going to smoke some weed tonight, or, you know, one of those type of things. Like I said, it wasn't something I really was interested in. It was just something that early on I realized wasn't going to really help me either way.
Has Vince been careful enough watching the guys and what they're doing and monitoring it? He's had all kinds of policies, and there was the wellness policy. But do you believe fundamentally that Vince McMahon over the last 5 years wanted to get rid of steroids?
I do. I really do. And if you look at some of the guys like Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, none of us were big guys. It was all about the entertainment
but you mentioned Chris
value.
Benoit. I mean, Chris Benoit was able to continue to do anabolic steroids because of a loophole in the drug testing policy, which said to me that Vince wants him to do it.
Well, see, I wasn't there during that time for the testing. All I know is that Chris would have been huge either way. See, I think it's very misconceived that if you don't do steroids, you're going to get small. All the guys are still going to be bigger than the average
But that was Chris's
bear.
misconception, not ours.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're right. Maybe fans don't understand what they do, but Chris did steroids, we know, for 20 years. So obviously, he was under that misconception.
In his mind, that's what he thought he had to do. We all know that Ben was one of the best wrestlers of all time. We all know he trained like a machine. He would have been huge either way. That was his that was his decision, I guess.
I'm going to ask you a question, and I know that you're looking at going back, and it's difficult to be Vince's enemy, but is the WWE not begging for a union, someone to represent the wrestlers?
See, it's one of those things. If you're working in the WWE, you're making a lot of money. So I think it's up to you. I walked away from wrestling at 34 years old because it's not what you make, it's what you save.
Safety in the workplace. Not talking about the money now. Safety in the workplace. That's one of the things that...
Well, as far as what? How do you mean safety in the workplace? I mean, we know it's a contact sport. We know it's a dangerous sport, but it's not like you're forced to do anything that you don't want to do. You have that choice.
Well, you have the choice to quit.
No. You have the choice.
Can you say to Vince, look, you know what? I don't want to wrestle 250 nights a year. I want to wrestle 100.
Well, you can't say that, but if you say, Vince, I'm hurt, I need a break, I need some time off, you'll get it.
You'll get
Absolutely.
3 months off?
If you need it, absolutely.
A mandatory off season. I mean,
Chris had it. You know, he did. Mandatory off
Chris,
season.
also, it's believed that Chris went to Vince and said, I want to take time off because he was feeling pressure from his wife. And Vince said, if you're going to take time off, you're not as useful to me and you're going to lose your spot on the roster.
I disagree with that. I bet you Vince would never say that. Chris did have 3 months off right before all this stuff went down.
But one of the things that we know historically over the years is that wrestlers have had to wrestle a lot of nights for a long period of time. And there's no question, if you had someone who went in there and said to Vince, hey, you can't make my guy wrestle that many nights, I think that you, Chris Jericho, or any of your brothers or sisters out there are going to be healthier.
Vince is more of a personal guy. You don't need a guy to go in there. You just go say it yourself. That's how Vince McMahon works.
So you're telling me, and I know it sounds like a loaded question, but I want to hear your opinion.
Absolutely.
That you go in to Vince and you say, you know what, I have a family. This is taking its toll on me. I'm not feeling real good. I need to wrestle a lot less, and I need some chunks of time to take off. That Vince would be good with that?
100%, absolutely.
All right. Tell me about the book.
I've done it myself.
Tell me about the book.
The book is the positive side of wrestling. It's my journey to get to this dream that I wanted to get since I was 8 years old, of becoming a wrestler. And details all my time in the ring, outside of the ring, life experiences I had in Mexico, Germany, Japan, all the trials and tribulations I had from working at a kid's birthday party for a hot dog and a glass of orange juice, weddings, parties, bar mitzvahs, whatever needs to be done, to being held up at the side of the road at gunpoint in Mexico City, to being threatened by the Japanese mafia who are going to cut off my finger because I smashed a vase that they said that they owned. So many different fun tales.
Not surprisingly, the book is fun because of all the wrestlers that I've watched over the last couple of decades, you may be the most fun of all, and we hope you return, and we hope you make it more fun, and we hope you get your time off, and we hope you're safe, and we hope you're healthy.
Well,
Chris Jericho.
Do you hope I come back and host your show again?
I hope that you come back and you're a guest in the show because you're a better guest than you are a host. And the panel is coming up next.
Off the Records Up Front is brought to you by AMP Energy Drink. Fuel for whatever.